Ho, ho, ho. Hope you guys have been good and not naughty this year. Checking if is everything all right. Microphone seems a little high. Santa's in the house. Hope everything's okay. Hello there. Yes, Santa has its amateur license. Hotel Husker, Hotel Husker, Hotel Husker. Just gonna bring this down. Santa is hot. I should open the window. He's used to being in the North Pole. Not used to these warm weathers of the South. I think there was once a ham station at that was in the Iqaluit or close to the North Pole, anyways, and that I think it was VY0HOH or something like that many years ago. I don't know if they still do anything like that. So here we go. So welcome everybody to the live stream for December 23rd, 2023, the yearly Christmas edition. And of course, we are always doing this every year for the past 6, 7, 8 years at least. I'm not counting anymore since started YouTube in 2012, October 2012. That's 11 years ago. So Santa did not appear immediately, but it's been a tradition for a long time now. Welcome aboard, everyone. Hope you enjoy the show today. And hope that everybody's going to have a good time. We're going to talk about some stories. If anybody has stories they want to share, by the way, you can send the stories and I'll read them on the air if you have some Christmas-related radio story. And this is a lot of fun to do. Santa has to keep cold because it's too warm. Vodka cranberry juice. So cheers. So Santa will be a little tipsy tonight. Hope everybody enjoys the show. So welcome to this live show. So usually we have a show on the first Saturday of each month. And that is the case. We had one this month. The next one will be on the first Saturday of the month of January, and that will come up to January the 6th. So put that on your calendar. January 6th is our next live show, official live show. This month we're having two because we have our Christmas or holiday special show. My name is Santa, and I'm come from the North Pole, but for the purpose of doing the live show, the internet isn't that good at the North Pole, so we're in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, in the northeast parts of North America, and we are here to entertain, talk about radio, shortwave radio, radio in general, and just have fun. So we have a chat room if you want to join in, talk to Santa, ask for presents, and if you want to continue the party, we have the Facebook group that has about 3,600 members. And we, of course, have a lot of fun there, sharing what we listen to and so on. And tomorrow, just out of the blue, if you're listening to the International Radio Report show, tomorrow we have a special 1 hour show. So the 1 hour show starts at 15 hours UTC rather than 15:30 as usual, because we had some time offered by the Latin show that's just before, so that we can actually have a longer show tomorrow for the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. So, welcome everybody. First, if you want to help Santa, they say it's the time of giving. You can actually use the super chat here. If you click on the super chat, you can give any amount. And of course, there's the PayPal, which is the preferred method because no fees are taken off the money. So if you want to help Santa have a good Christmas, you can send your contributions to this PayPal address. And this will help Santa, of course, buy new radios, make reviews, and so on. There's a few that I'm looking at that should be ordered early in 2024, and hopefully we'll check it out. And of course, everybody that gives a donation, either through the super chat or through PayPal, will be invited to the exclusive Zoom meeting that is a special thank you for everybody that contributes. And that will be somewhere in mid to late January. And everybody that has sent a donation will be invited to join in. It's a lot of fun, as a lot of people are together. And Zoom is different. You know, we see our faces, and it's just not the same. So thank you in advance. So Santa has to remove his gloves because apparently touch devices don't like gloves. And of course, Santa is having a hard time with his beard. Like every year, he's not used to having such a big beard because I grow this beard only for Christmas and then I shave it off. So welcome aboard, everybody. So Danny, Shortwave, and Radio DX, nice to have you here. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And lots of radios and lots of fun. Marvin Motz, good morning from the Japan Islands. And for 2024, he's offering a beachside radio hardware internship sabbatical on my small island in the Pacific. Cool. Masters Players in Radio and Television Plus Gaming, nice to have you here. WA 5107 SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana. Chuck Davis, nice to have you on board. And Santa is here now. Mita Lunar, CQDX, nice to have you on board, trying for the North Pole. Torben Everson, nice to have you here from Norway. Always cool to have you on board. John Beckham, nice to have you here. Merry Christmas. And from Northeast Florida. And here, Christmas is green right now. There's no snow. So, which is not unusual, but doesn't happen that often, actually. But we had a lot more rain than anything else since the beginning of the season. So I do miss the snow. I would like to have a white Christmas. It's always much more, kind of adds a little magic to um, the moment to have snow on the ground, and especially the snow and the mix of Christmas lights and the decorations. It's kind of cool. So unfortunately, there's an ad thing behind me. So we continue on with James Farley. Nice to have you here from Old Bridge, New Jersey. KD2GUZ, DX Winger. Nice to have you here from Southeast Pennsylvania. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you on board. Says Winsville, Missouri, nearly 65 degrees today. That's warm. Blug or die. So you've been a good boy because he only listens to good radios. That's good. That's good. Midnight Arrow, nice to have you here. Dwayne, nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. Mittel Lunar, does Santa have his amateur license? Well, Santa has every license required for every single event, every hobby. It's Santa. He's got to try the stuff before he sends it away. If you get a ham radio gear this year for Christmas, Santa had to test it out before. So to make sure that you're going to be happy. Digital palm trees. Nice to have you here. Pedro EB7BYH. Nice to have you on board from Marbella, Spain. Welcome aboard, my friend. Friends, nice to have you on board. And yes, we do remember all the people of the world that are in trouble, not just Palestine. I think we have to, in this moment, take time to reflect upon all the countries around the world that people are suffering, and that includes a lot of countries. And I'm not gonna mention specific countries, not to get political, but I think even we were looking at what's happening in Africa, and there's so many places that people just need help. Let's take a time to wish that 2024 could be better for all of those people. Penny C, happy holidays. Is this a yearly tradition to dress up as Santa? Yeah, it's been pretty much a tradition for, like I said, we're 2023, at least 5, 6, 7 years. I think Santa has appeared for the past 7 to 8 years easily. I don't know what's the first, if anybody can check out what's the first Santa stream that I did here. John Beckham says there's a lot of nice new shortwave radios out there for this Christmas. So these are interesting to see. It is interesting to see, we see that the market for radio is really getting into the market of inexpensive portables. But it's interesting to see that we still have a lot of radios that are actually showing up, new radios, new models all the time. So it's pretty cool. Joseph, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay Area. Merry Christmas. And says, well, I gave Joe his vacation for this week. He's going to be out taking care of himself. So Santa took over. We've been good friends for a long time. So, I owe him a favor anyway, so I have to be here every year. It's the only way it's going to work out. RJDA Dakota, I'm pretty much used to Christmas time without snow. I would rather have a nice tropical Christmas. Santa on a surfboard. I think I remember seeing a video or something somewhere about where there were some people dressed as Santas across, I think it was the coast of California, doing some surf. It's kind of cool to watch. George, nice to have you here. Been a while. And says, since I couldn't be in the show, unfortunately, took place when I'm on my way home. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, George. Happy New Year from Mexico. It was nice to have you here, my friend. What's the farthest northern radio broadcast to contacts you have heard or contacts? Um, I would pretty much say Eureka. I heard and contacted at least twice on a ham radio. The station in Eureka, which is on, I think it's Ellesmere Island. You got the alert station because at the top, the most northern place that's inhabited is the alert station in the tip of Nunavut, Canada, and which still contains a military installation for basically snooping on Russia and on many other things. Apparently, it's very well positioned to snoop on a lot of signals and a lot of things. And it's more automated today, but apparently there's still some people there. But I had contact with a ham in a research station at Eureka, which is just a little south on the same island that Alert Station is. There's also another one that I actually this week or last week. It was a new one for me. I did contact Yellowknife in the Yukon a few times on the ham radio. But this week I had a new one, which was in Yellowknife, and made contact this week or last week. It's always kind of fun. And there's something, I don't know why, I'm fascinated with signals that go up to the North Pole or close to it. I was a big fan of the Nordic country stations on shortwave, like Radio Sweden, Radio Norway, Radio Finland, because there is something about it, listening to Nordic countries, that made, I don't know, it's me. There was kind of something fascinating about listening to stations from up much more north than I am, basically. So I'm just going to go down. Here we go. And try to follow up. Here we go. Danielle, nice to have you here. Bill Mead, Merry Christmas. René Charbonnier, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Meta Lunar, for me, the first shortwave radio I ever had was a Christmas gift, although it was not very good, and I think I only got one poor quality reception. It caused me to think shortwave was dead back then. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. When your first shortwave radio is a crappy radio. That's why I always say when somebody says, oh, look, there's this $20 radio. I'm going to buy it to a friend or family member and hope that they, go on shortwave. And the problem with that is that if you do get into giving a radio that doesn't perform very well, you're not helping the hobby, because that radio doesn't work very well, doesn't get a lot of stations, and already with noise, it's complicated. So, you could have never continued. You could have said, well, no, there's there's nothing there. It's like some people that come up to me in the channel and say, hey, shortwave's dead. There's nothing anywhere when I tune around. So I guess there's nothing. And it's like, no, there's something. You have too much noise. But that's part of, Santa's beard is itching his nose a little bit. Back in the day of the Soviet Union, says Blogger Die, Radio Moscow didn't send out Christmas cards, but rather New Year's cards. Yeah, like Cuba. I don't know if Cuba does it this year again. Cuba usually has the little pocket calendar. And I remember getting Radio Havana Cuba's Happy New Year cards like in February or something, because they were sent and it took so long to get here. It was just funny. What else? What pops? Does it crackle or something? Maybe it could be my microphone's a little too hot. It's not impossible. John Beckham got his first transistor radio back in Christmas, 1960. It was a GE 6 transistor radio with a nice black leather carrying case. Great. It was a great little AM radio indeed. Cool. Tess Sophie, nice to have you here. RJ Dakota, in Eastern Europe, the tree isn't for Christmas, but for New Year. Always has been that way. My grandmother came from Romania. Yeah, because most Eastern Bloc countries did not celebrate Christmas because of what it represents. Jim, Merry Christmas from Oregon. Nice to have you here, Jim. Blogger Die. My first shortwave radio was a Christmas present too in Nanaola, 10NT504. Huh. Don't even know what that is. I'd have to look it up. Handing you Merry Christmas to you and all my radio friends. Enjoying my new Malahite DSP2 brilliant piece of kit. Cool. I hear a lot of good things on it. Definitely. Marvin Mons, there was once a man named Claudio who loved to listen to the radio on every Christmas Eve. He would tune in and believe that he heard the voice of Santa's reindeer. Oh, oh. Yeah, indeed. You know, one of the souvenirs that I have, there's quite a few radio souvenirs for Christmas. In my case, one of the souvenirs that I had was, when you're a teenager and you're waiting for all the family and the uncles and so on to arrive. I guess for a teenager, unless there's other teenagers around or other people younger, you're kind of left out a little bit. Often that was the case in my, all the family members were getting drunk, and I'd be in more of a. There weren't often, younger people that were, cousins or anything. So I would often go to the radio. I'd go, of course, on a Commodore computer I had back then, but I'd go on the radio and listen. And I remember on December the 24th, I guess it was something around, I'd say the early 90s, maybe 92, 93. And I tuned around, and I think it was on the 20-meter band, came across a broadcast, which was a ham station that was actually Santa on the air. And I could hear all of these kids over radio asking for their Christmas gifts, what they would like to have. And I found that fun and fascinating and a great way to have children or have, younger people kind of have fun with radio. And, I could even imagine thinking like the young, really young that get on the radio, thinking how cool could it be that this radio actually can talk to Santa. So that was a fun memory. And I remember I listened to it for as long as it lasted. I don't remember if it faded out or ended at a certain point, but pretty cool. That was, and there's the SantaNet. There was a SantaNet on 3916, and I think there was another one on 20 meters that also kind of follow the footsteps of this. So it's kind of cool, bringing Santa and Christmas, and maybe someday some of those young, young boys and girls will want to join amateur radio for that reason, basically. So what else do we have? Let me go here. Just gonna go down. Try to catch up. So, okay, let's continue here. I refreshed the chat room a little bit. Tarek, nice to have you on board from Cairo, Egypt. Merry Christmas. And as he says, Merry Christmas to all the radio enthusiasts in Best 73. Manish Buhla, nice to have you on board. Says, logged in here from India, and it's December 24th at 1:37 a.m. So you see, Santa has to adjust itself because midnight, getting to Christmas isn't at the same time around the world. So he's already started and getting ready for the sleigh. So after this show, has to get on his sleigh and go around the world. Storms, Radios, and Cats, nice to have you on board. Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. And says on the way back home from lunch and grocery shopping. So pretty cool. No snow in Yonkers, New York. Yeah, I would guess because it's kind of funny sometimes because when storms hit, sometimes it happens that you guys across the border just south in the state of New York will get snow, while here in Montreal we get hit by rain, which is always kind of weird. George, wow, so many radio friends from around the globe. Absolutely. It's really cool for that. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. Lawrence, nice to have you on board. Looking good, Santa. Merry Christmas to you and all the gang on the channel. So nice to have you here from Boston. What else do we have? MDK2, Matt, nice to have you on board from Denver, Colorado. It's cool to have you here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Garrett Brennan, nice to have you on board. Happy holidays. Beam Sea Bike, hey Santa, happy holidays. Nice to have you on board from the snowy mountains in Switzerland. Lucky you got snow. Hotel Bravo 3, X-Ray Bravo Lima. Ho, ho, ho. Joe Minton, nice to have you on board. Finally took the test. KI5YCD saying Merry Christmas from Texas. Cool. Congratulations there. Anders Gustafsson, nice to have you on board from a snowy Sweden. Pretty cool. Here, the next time we're getting something is on the 26th or 27th. And already they've announced that we're going to have some freezing rain, all sorts of crap, rather than snow again. So, nice to have you here, Manish from India. Rotten Animal, nice to have you here. Tasso loves the fireplace. Yeah, I thought it was a little festive to put a fireplace in the background. So, Dwayne, do I have a mobile rig on your sleigh? Well, I always have my Yaesu FT65 with me. So like that, I can, from very, very high with the reindeer flying up there, you hit almost every repeater you want. And, Santa adds the little magic in there. So communications are always clear and perfect. Danny Shortwave says Santa's beard looks fluffy. New grown beard. Yes, it's all fresh and new. Took me ages to actually have it on, but it's there. Marvin Motz says, why did Paul the Cat buy a shortwave radio? Because he wanted to listen to his friend on the other side of the world. I like that. RJ Dakota says, I saw a video from South Africa where they were doing the Santa surf thing. Yeah, unless it's that. Maybe it could be that one. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec. Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays. Penny C ordered the XH Data D109 WB for 10 from Santa. Hope it's going to be a good radio. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Well, Santa had to do it, Tessa. He owes that every year to Shell, so, Danny Shortwave, farthest northern contact for me has Yukon Territory, Yellowknife on 10 meters FT8. On FT8 I got that, but the Eureka station I got on single sideband, and I got on when we had the CQ Worldwide's SSB contest. and I was going through the bands and I heard him, and I think first call or second call answered back immediately. So that's kind of cool because SSB voices a lot of fun when you make contacts. Shelly, Merry Christmas. Nice to have you here from South Central Pennsylvania. Storms, Originals, and Cats. Hey Santa, what radio or scanner offers gigahertz, and how high into that band can I expect to receive with the proper antenna? I think SDR might be best way to go above 5 gigahertz. Yeah, I don't know what you want to listen to, but as a rule of thumb, for most standard listenable voice transmissions and all of that, going above 1 gigahertz is already, you're not going to get that much up there. There are some things, but most of what you'll get when you get above 1 gigahertz is all sorts of digital stuff, including, the cell phone signals and things like that. But that's not copyable. You're not going to hear conversations or so, for the most part, unless you are a ham operator and do these funky modes in very high amateur bands with very fancy antennas, there's not that much above about 1 gigahertz to really, notice. There's a little bit of satellite stuff that can be done in the with the weather satellites, or weather satellites, things like that. But is anybody else hearing like a popping or something, like Torben says? It could be my my audio is too loud. A lot of crackles. Let's check it out. Well, I just want to make sure that others also hear the crackle or something. George, yeah, Radio Cuba is sending some pocket calendars and an invitation for contest. Received some last week. Okay. Yes, Santa does need a straw. The only one I found was because of, the new rules today. The only one I found was a cardboard straw, which Santa figured that after half an hour would probably be useless anyways. Jay Dakota says, I still have a QSL card displayed from RHC back in 1980s. KW61, nice to have you here. Merry Christmas from a rainy Tucson, Arizona. George, and my girlfriend have issue tuning shortwave stations in South Korea. Cities there have a lot of noise, but close to the coast is easier to find some stations, but noise is still a problem. Yeah, noise is the biggest enemy. I say that all the time. It's, we are, unfortunately, having so much noise that it's crazy. It's sad because that is a big problem for a hobby. What makes people not hear anything most of the time is really really noise. Jay Dakota heard that transmission on 3916 for the SantaNet. Rotten Animal, I see Santa at a mall and said to him, hi Santa, I want honest government for Christmas. John Beckham, what is your opinion on the radio brand Degen? I am looking at the Degen 1131. Any feedback? They have good radios. There are some that are less interesting. Let me just check. DE 1131. See what that is. Yeah. I've seen that thing. Touchscreen control. I don't know. I can't speculate on 4N1. And yeah, that's very inexpensive. The ratings are not very good though. 2.6 and 62 ratings, 2.6 out of 5. So it's not a very good rating. And it's very inexpensive. So I would not expect that to be that great. But then again, at $19.98 in the US on Amazon, I would probably go for it because it's just so inexpensive. Fred Waterer, nice to have you on board. Santa, I can explain. I'm buying my own stuff. EP says you saw that they added a waterfall to the unit in SDS 100, 200. Yeah, I saw something like that in one of the ads on somewhere. Yep. Robert Varner, nice to have you here. KC2TEL in New Jersey. Ho, ho, ho. Mintel Lunar says, surely Santa would use an HF radio on the sleigh to call back to HQ. Oh, absolutely. He brings his Yaesu FTDX10. He's got enough space. There's enough dashboard space in Santa's sleigh to have the Yaesu FTDX10. And I run the antenna wire on the attachment for the reindeers. So basically, it forms a nice ladder type antenna. What else do we have? Brent Sutherland, I want to hear PDRK English language broadcasts. Do they exist? What's PDRK? Chuck Davis, nice to have you here. Bob's Old Records. If you check the weather on Trenton, you're out of luck. No report received. Now, Santa has made sure that he's not using the Trenton weather reports because Santa will be lost in a blizzard if he does. That's for sure. Yep, reindeer antlers double as antennas, definitely, and it works great. Pickle Zero, nice to have you here from Kansas. KB7RQQ, nice to have you here. Merry Christmas from Washington State. As Sheldon says, special 1 hour show tomorrow of the International Radio Report on CKUT FM. It will be from 15 to 16 hours UTC. Santa will be the one editing the show today because Joe's not here and uploading it to CKUT computers for tomorrow. Storms, radios, and cats. Yeah, I know I wasn't looking for a voice, more for listening to signals above Earth. Okay. You got to have some really good antennas and low amplifiers, low noise amplifiers to get any of these signals in the very high frequencies, though. I'm just gonna check here. So maybe this is going to be better. If you guys hear popping again, let me know. I lowered the noise level, the volume level for the microphone. So it could be that. But some people are hearing it, some people are not. Maybe it depends on the type of audio system that you're hearing. It depends on the frequencies that you're capable of hearing. Maybe the pop depends on the type of speaker you're using. It could be in a very specific frequency range. Anyways, I lowered the volume here. Maybe it's going to be better. What else do we have? Michael, nice to have you on board. Keegan DX, you're watching on my iPhone. Audio through the car speakers via USB. Occasional sound crackling and freezing at times. But, okay. Merry Christmas, Al. Nice to have you here from Westport, Massachusetts. KW61 says, my CC Radio 3 is due on the Tuesday after Christmas. Well, that's going to be cool. I'm going to have a nice little radio there. So lots of people having radios. Getting close to the bottom of the chat. That's pretty cool. What else do we have? Pickle Zero, I need to study and get my ham license. So much to do. Oh yeah, but you would have a lot of fun. Justy303, Merry Christmas from Alan I, Finland. Just got my PL 880. Are you gonna have a lot of fun with that? Nice to have you on board from Finland. What else do we have? Chaz Tank, nice to have you here. Merry Christmas, Santa, and all radio friends. It's a rainy but warm day in Louisville, Kentucky. So it's pretty cool. John Beckham says, Joel, as most of us know, XH Data has been releasing several inexpensive new shortwave radio models. Is the XH Data D109WB good about no bleeding of AM or FM? You know what? I tested the 109 and 109 with weather band, and I see people, I even seen some reviews where they're saying, oh, they fixed some of the issues. They didn't. It's the same radio. So whatever issues the 109 had, it is on the 109 WB. That has not changed, but you had weather band, and the weather band is not super sensitive. So if you're on a fringe receive area, you're not going to get that NOAA weather station very well. I try here. It's simple. I've got a few radios that I can tune to the NOAA weather station from Burlington, Vermont. And on 162.400, it comes in very well on devices that are sensitive. On the 109 WB, got to work hard to get it. I have to position the antennas in a certain way, and I don't know if it's because of maybe overload issues due to the powerful FM stations here. There's AM bleed through, like on the 109. It depends where you position and how you position the radio. It depends if you have a lot of strong AM stations around you. People, I suspect that if you have a 109 or 109 WB, and that you live in a fringe area for most of the broadcasts where there's not a lot of powerful AM stations and FM stations, you're probably going to have a great experience with these radios. But as soon as you get an environment that has a lot of powerful AM stations around, it easily overloads, and you get AM signals everywhere bleeding through the shortwave bands. And sometimes bleeding through broadcasts you're listening to. An example is the other day, I was listening to Radio Romania on the 109 WB, and I could hear clearly that I was hearing the Montreal traffic station on 730 kilohertz with the broadcast at the same time. So it tells you that it has a hard time with strong signals on a medium wave band or AM radio. Penny C, I missed a comment about CKUT tomorrow, 15 to 16 UTC. Is it a music program? No, it's the radio show. We have a show called the International Radio Report. Sheldon Harvey and me are co-hosts. And it's a show that talks about radio, local and around the world. We have stories about radio events, radio, what anything happening in the world of radio, from, radio station being shut down by governments or military groups, or all sorts of news from, reports of radio listening, and, how it's going, how people, do or do not listen to the radio. It's basically a general purpose radio show that talks about events in the radio sphere. We have some news sometimes about local stations and local news of radios here. We have a lot of news about what's happening in the radios around the world. And we also have ham radio contests. I do my weekly solar condition report. So listen to it. You can stream it. ckut.ca is where you could go, and you can stream it. You can stream it through any of the devices. If you have a smart speaker of some sort, just ask to stream CKUT 90.3 FM, and it should actually work. And it's a show that we are here every week. Tomorrow, exceptionally, is 15 to 16 hours UTC. But normally it's a 30-minute show from 15:30 to 16 hours UTC every Sunday morning. And we have our YouTube channel. So I'm going to put it here. If you guys want to go and check out our YouTube channel, I'm just going to post a link. Our shows are always posted there. The added bonus of the YouTube channel is that I add images that go with the stories that we are talking about. So why not join the channel? If you don't stream it, the channel is cool because you can actually listen to the show at your leisure anytime you want. And of course, there's the archive on ckut.ca. You can listen to back shows. Download the show on your device as an MP3. So it's a great radio show. It's been on the air on CKUT since 1987. Sheldon Harvey is the guy that all started that show, the International Radio Report. I joined sometime in, I guess, 2018. And I've been pretty much a regular 2017, 2018. I think it's 2017, and been regular since then. And then the pandemic hit, and we couldn't be in studio doing the show. So what we did is I figured out a way to record it. So we get on Zoom, and we record the show on Friday afternoon, and then we upload it. I edit on the Saturday, so it's going to be edited later today. And I upload it to the CKUT computers to have it play. I also make the YouTube version, and the YouTube version usually is available unless there's some unforeseen, thing happening. In general, within about an hour and a half after the show aired on CKUT, the YouTube version pops up on the YouTube channel. So that's a good way to keep up to date with the news. And you can go also listen to older shows if you want. So check it out. It's a great little show. And it's a show about radio. Sometimes shortwave radio, sometimes local radio in different countries around the world, and so on. So, what else do we have? Jim Lash, his first receiver, 1975 Realistic DX160 with 50 feet of wire. Love that radio. That is a model that was very popular, and I think it started a lot of people in the shortwave radio field. Can tell you that. Glenn, nice to have you on board from South Carolina. A little late. Family just left the holiday ski shoot and barbecue. So Merry Christmas. Steve Blum. I'm almost 50, but I still remember vividly getting a Radio Shack DX440 for Christmas in the late 80s. It was the start of a decades-long radio obsession. Radio Shack. I mean, time we mentioned Radio Shack, how it probably helped a lot of us start in the hobby. I remember that the first shortwave radio that I got, which was a Realistic DX100, which is not a great radio, but I had that, and that's it. And because there was a lot of strong signals back then, it wasn't that much of a problem. I was receiving quite a lot of stuff. But how many people started because of Radio Shack? I think that is a major player in the fact that we got into radio, shortwave radio, and so on. That's for sure. The funny thing for me about Christmas, it was almost never associated with radio. Back in my teenage years, when I got shortwave radios, it was more like a random thing. I got my DX100 in August of '82. Random. I just wanted it, and it looked cool. I was, trying to get enough money to buy it, and then, one day my dad had a raise. He was happy. He said, How much do you have for the radio?" And it cost about $100 back then. And I said, "Oh, I got $50." So he gave me the other 50 that I needed to get the radio. I did the only radio related gift that I got through my teenage years at Christmas was my CB radio. I got the Navajo TRC 432 base station, which I still have here and I need to put up. I need to put that thing up. And that is the CB radio that I got. That was pretty much the only Christmas related radio gift. Most of what I had at Christmas for back in the '80s was computer related. I was, a lot into the Commodore computers. Still have the Commodore 128 here and an Amiga 500 just in front of me. Funny thing about the Commodore is I actually played, and I have a tradition, kind of a, it's more of a something that goes with, going back in time and nostalgia. But there's a holiday demo of Commodore, which is Santa. It starts with Santa getting on the roof of a building, getting inside, and putting gifts. And he has a little drink on the table, and when he drinks it, it contains alcohol, and he goes a little crooked, while he's stumbling as he's going to the chimney. And that first, the graphics for the time are very surprising on that demo. And my mom always used to tell me around Christmas time, "Oh, why don't you put in that computer thing that you have with the Santa, the drunk Santa?" Because she always found it funny. So every year I would actually play that demo. So my tradition is that tomorrow night on Christmas Eve, I'll be putting that demo is going to play on loop on my screen here in my office, as it will actually remind me of two things. That I had my Commodore 128 on Christmas 1985, so still functioning. It's pretty cool. And I also have that nostalgia of with that Christmas demo of thinking about my mom and having some souvenirs. So that's going to be playing on loop all evening tomorrow night on my screen here. So a little souvenir, So we have all of these little things sometimes that we hang on to over the years, basically. So Okay. What else do we have? What else do we have? So a lot of people talking about, they are getting their Radio Shack radios at Christmas, or Keegan DXer got the Radio Shack DX402. Chaz Tanks is missing the Radio Shack Christmas catalogs, and I missed two things back in the day: the Christmas catalogs. There's Radio Shack, but there's also my mom was big on buying at Sears, and I still remember the Sears catalog, the Christmas catalog. Oh boy, I would drool over all of the toys and the things that were in there back in the day. Michael says my Ethon 750 goes in and out on weaker stations, even on medium wave. It could be it's possibly the fact that it's kind of DSP based, the way that the AGC is. I noticed that a lot of the radios that have the DSP chips, when the fade out is when stations are fading out, they often are fading out in a weird way. It's not like a gradual fade out. It's more like it fades out, and at a threshold at some point, it just goes away. Here are Radio Shack in Canada, and the one that I had here is still a Circuit City, which is basically a boring mainstream store that, because it was sold now to Bell, wants to sell you a smartphone rather than anything else. And they have pretty much nothing of value to somebody like us that would go into the store and see all the gadgets and the stuff we would like to have. King and the Xer says there are 2 Radio Shack stores in Northwest Arkansas, one in Fayetteville and Salem Springs. The latter closed down in April last year. No problem, Penny C. John Beckham, is the solar activity promoting gold propagation or good propagation on shortwave bands currently? The problem with solar activity that we have is that solar activity is when we're getting in a high part of the solar cycle, like we are right now. The big problem with the high part of the solar cycle is that we also often have solar flares. And because of that, the solar flares and everything, just checking out if anybody has sent a comment or anything to the show. Sorry, I don't want to forget or miss out on anybody. So because there's solar flares, there are moments where things aren't good for a small period of time. A lot of people have it wrong with solar flare and solar activity. I was listening this week to the BBC 25900 on 11-meter band, and it faded out quite rapidly at, I think it was on Wednesday, faded out quite rapidly at like maybe, I don't know, 1650, almost close to 17 UT. And so what happened is, something must have happened. And a little later on the websites, I noticed that definitely there was solar flare happening. So, solar flares is happens in 2 cycles. There's the solar flare itself, and we have a lot of solar flares happening on the sun right now. There's a lot of sunspots, and quite a few of them are pretty potent for solar flares. What happens is that when you have a solar flare happening, if you're on the sunlit side of Earth, or if you're listening to a signal that comes from the sunlit side of Earth, you'll notice that it fades out and it might actually disappear. But this is something that is going to happen for, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour at most. And then things come back as the ionosphere builds up. That's the first punch, which is the particles that just arrive from the flare, which usually go at speed of light. So they arrive 8 minutes after the flare. Then after that, if the flare is Earth directed somewhat, there might be a coronal mass ejection, and that will create a different problem, which is geomagnetic storms. So, because we're in a high period of solar activity, we also are in a period where all of that is happening. And so conditions are good when things are quiet, but they quickly change anytime something happens. And that's basically what's happening now. You might turn on the radio at a certain point in time and figure out, oh, propagation doesn't seem that great. But it could be just temporary, for 10 minutes, half an hour. Of course, there's a second punch that can happen with geomagnetic storming. But whatever happens, it's really the up and down every day. If you're in that moment where things are quiet, you got amazing propagation. I mean, signals are propagating above 30 megahertz. If you tune 30 to 50 megahertz, you'll hear stuff happening over skip in the daytime. And of course, there's a lot of little moments where you might not, for an hour or two, have great propagation, but then it comes back. So it goes with higher solar activity. There are more moments that are quiet sometimes, so when there's less sunspots, but still some high solar activity, not much flaring. It could be good for several days in a row. This week was good in general, but we did have some solar flares and we did have a little bit of geomagnetic unrest. So it really goes up and down very fast in a higher solar cycle. But the higher frequencies are amazing. David's Radio Room. I love the International Radio Report. I like the YouTube version. I watched the show a few days later. So cool. Storms, rages, and cats. Ooh, there will be some rain now in central Kentucky. Youch. David Radio Room says, my first radio was a Candle AM FM shortwave receiver. Still took me several years to really get into the hobby. The Wind 1960. Merry Christmas. Nice to have you here. Chastang, don't forget the Battery of the Month Club. Oh, yeah, the Battery of the Month. And I still think about that, the Battery of the Month Club. What a great idea to bring people into the store. I'm going to give you every month a free battery. It's going to bring you into the store and you might actually buy something. We were like getting our batteries, but I was always getting my 9-volt battery. And because, frankly, what would you do with one AA battery or one D battery or so on? Especially back in the day, nothing worked with only one battery. So the only one that was kind of logical, it was, I'm gonna get my 9-volt battery. That's the only battery that I can use into some devices that I have. Keegan the Xer got a Grundig S450 DLX at the Silom location. All the Ethan Grundig Edition Elite Field, St. Jean AJR14, and the Fayetteville location. Robert Varnish says, my first shortwave radio was from Sears back in 1967. Yeah, we do get old. Fred Water at Radio Shack was the toy store of my teenage years. Same here. It's interesting because a friend of mine that worked there doesn't remember seeing those, but I was a big fan of the surprise boxes that they sold back then. It was a brown box. Obviously it was like, not really thought out that much because there was no flashy, printout on the box. It was a brown box and it just had a very small sticker on it saying, surprise box, whatever you get in there, you get in there. You never knew. And I bought 3 or 4 of them. I loved it. It was like it was a surprise. You'd open it up and you never knew what would you have in there. And apparently it was all the parts that were left behind in the repair centers. Let me just Let me just fill up a little bit. So, of course, Santa has his little drink. So this is part of the drink. And please don't complain. I still remember that woman that complained to me several years ago about, yeah, I didn't like the fact that Santa was drinking on the air and my kids were kind of, hey, this is a adult show. And the cranberry juice. So cheers, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Okay. Storms, Raiders, and Cats had the TRC 433. Really enjoyed that CB base station mobile. Talked all over the country in Canada on the radio. Cool. I need to put my my unit in SSB 980 SSB on my NFED. I tried it once. It didn't have the standing wave wasn't too bad because I don't have an external antenna tuner. So, but the internal check was like 1.5 out of 1, which isn't that bad. I need to try it out on the NFED and see if I can make a contact somewhere, like a distant contact, like on channel 38 lower sideband or something. That'd be kind of cool. Let me just get back into where I am. There's some, I'm actually listening to, I'm hearing WWV on 25 megahertz on the Yeezu. And there's a EAM message, 11175. I'm hearing some US emergency action message being sent out. Yeah, Lafayette Electronics, Lafayette Radio Electronics. Man, Heathkit was popular also. Heathkit. Fred Water says right now to Paul the Cat, the real star of the channel. I hope he gets better. He was sick this morning twice. So hopefully he'll be okay now. I think he just ate too much. Robert Varner had the Counter 64 with the clunky floppy drive and Dot Magic printer. Yeah. The drive was slow because, first of all, the drive is a complete computer. It had its own processor and everything. But the drive was slow because there was a bug in the system. And they changed from parallel to serial sent of data, which slowed the drive really, really dramatically, which was kind of sad because that drive was so slow. That's why that fast load cartridge was so popular. Storms, Radios, and Cats Battery Club. Those batteries were amazing. If you thought they were dead, they let them sit outside of the radio for a week. Try them again. They would work for a few days more. Yeah. Chance Tank says, I'm right with you. Show about the catalogs. JCPenney had a big one also. Yeah. Oh yeah, John Beckham. It was always like every time you'd buy something at Radio Shack and they'd ask you for your full name and address. It was like, well, why? But I still remember because I didn't know why they would ask all the time, but I would give it. And when I remembered that I understood why when I bought the Realistic DX100 and a few more things during that year, I got it in the mail. I was surprised. I was like, hey, I got a catalog in the mail. This is so cool. But most of the time, I never purchased enough. So I would go and bug them like, is the new catalog out? Is the new catalog out? Is the new catalog out? They would probably get annoyed. Is the new catalog out? I want to have a catalog. There's so many things. Radio Shack is just amazing. KW61 says Elliott Electronics is the only remaining store in Tucson left after the others closed. You know, it's crazy when you think about it. It's tough to get even a AM/FM radio today. Wherever you are, getting an AM/FM radio is a difficult task, actually. David in Barcelona, ¿cómo está mi amigo? Nice to have you here. EA3IEK, EA4998 URE. Nice to have you on board, and a Merry Christmas. Absolutely. Danny Shortwave, Radio DX, of course, in the 90s, mail order catalogs. They got hooked on gadgets because of Denmark. I have 2 DAK shortwave radios. That's pretty cool. Active antenna called a station stalker. Hey, I'm a station stalker. You know, I had a conversation with some of you know maybe that the house next door has been sold, and the woman that was there, which was the daughter of the old lady that owned the house. We talked a lot in the past month or so every time she was there, and we started talking about how long we've been here. And I mean, she was born in that house only a few years after the house was built, around 1950. And so she was talking about all the nostalgia and all this stuff that's kind of sad, taking everything out and moving away. So she asked me how long I'd been here, and I told her, well, it's 23 years now. I got here in, it's easy to remember because I got here in the year 2000. And I started talking to her about how the street here has changed. Because when I got here in 2000, every single small house that's in the street here was owned by an old couple. They were, already in their 70s probably and more. And I told her, I said, was the funny thing is I had scanner radios, and back in 2000, we still could listen to cordless phones, analog cordless phones quite a lot. So I told her, I said, it's funny because I kind of knew the people in the houses, and I was telling her, I said, just next door to you was an old lady, an old Italian lady. And she would complain about every product she bought. She would get on the phone and I would hear her complain about the Tide. It didn't smell the same thing. Her clothes wasn't as beautiful and whatever. She would call for anything, shampoo. She would complain to every single company about whatever she bought. And they would always send her coupons to get free stuff. It was just so funny. I still remember the scanner radio, the guy on the other side of the street that lived there before, telling his friend calls up, says, hey, I got the $500 I owe you. I'm going to go and, I'm going to go give you the money. And the guy says, I'm not going to be home today, but you can leave it in the mailbox. And, you imagine anybody that could be crooked, what would happen? I was thinking, wow, if I was crooked, that's a quick $500 that you just make. Just pretend that, take a little walk and pretend. It was so funny. What you hear on those cordless phones and so on. But what I was telling her, as time went by, I saw the old people die and younger people get into the houses. That Italian lady, now it's a young couple that has 2 kids, and so on. And I said, it's kind of weird. In 23 years of observation, I see the change in and the old people going away. They're all dying. And I even told her, I said, I just can't believe it. When I got here in 2000, I was 32 years old, 31 years old. And now today I'm 54. And I'm like, wow, I was 31. And I never thought that at 54, I'd still be here. It's just so crazy when you think about it. What else do we have? Let me go down. Michael, thank you, because the next to my Sanji and the signal stays better. I think he gave me the answer I was looking for. Bob's Old Records, medium wave has been great lately. HF, not so much. HF, you got to get that point where there's not too much, no flaring or anything. There is one effect that is, for a lot of people, a problem at this time. The long nights makes, even if the solar activity is high, the long nights does make that maximum usable frequency drop quite a lot. David, Matt says, my New Year's radio resolution is to get my ham station set back up with a new Yagi antenna. If I had a New Year's resolution, mine would be to lower the amount of FTA that I'm doing and do a lot more of other things. By the way, you guys, if you're a ham operator, I started today, and it ends real soon. It ends on the 25th, which is Monday. You have special event stations that do the 12 days of Christmas. And there's one station for each Christmas gift of the 12 days of Christmas, plus 2 extra stations in New Brunswick, Canada. So if you get them, even if you get only one, they will issue a certificate that you can get. And of course, you can do a clean sweep by getting all of them. So I got 2 today, and I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow and Monday I can have more for all of them. I don't know if I can. That'd be kind of a lot of fun. So chase these stations on the ham bands. Matt, a lot more stuff ran on 9-volt batteries back then. I think pocket transistor radios all needed them. Yep. And I had remote control trucks, and the remote, the transmitter of the remote control, they all use 9-volt batteries. Adrian, nice to have you here. Happy Christmas. VT Radio, nice to have you on board. Paul, AA1SU from Northern Vermont. Yeah. I don't remember if you compare the batteries, like the Radio Shack branded batteries. I'm not sure they were more expensive than if you'd buy, say, Energizer batteries. But I don't remember. I don't remember the prices they had back then, and compared to others. So, and David's New Year resolution is 1080p. Mine is 4K. David's Radio Room. My first radio store was Lafayette Radio and Electronics Store. I had to walk several miles to get there. But in those days, there was no security problem, unlike now. Yeah, that's the other thing. Unfortunately, in many places, Montreal's still a safe city, but you see that the crime is slowly creeping up, and you got to check your back. Reverse size speaker. Nice to have you here. UTV and Ham, KD9 WNV. Cheers. Nice to have you here from Wisconsin. And just as we are a little more in 1 hour and 20 minutes, I just want to say that if you want to support Santa, it's Christmas. You have the super chat that you can give a little something, and you can also use PayPal. Santa has a hard time writing on a keyboard with PayPal, with all the stuff. Actually, I have a lot of Santa beard on the keyboard. Actually, Santa is losing as much of his beard on the keyboard as Paul the cat is losing his hair on the keyboard. His fur. So there's also PayPal that you can give a donation, and if you want to give a little something, this is where you can send it out. And thank you so much for your contribution. Remember that your contribution also entitles you to the Zoom meeting coming up in January. Adrian, my first radio was my grandpa's JVC Nivico cassette recorder. Wow. Just think. Cool storms, raisins, and cats. So reverse speaker. My call sign will be Yankee Delta 8, but the last 3 will not be assigned until I got it. Cool. Hopefully we'll meet on the air. Tessa says anything less than that, even on a small screen of your phone, is abysmal. Michael, remember the big reel-to-reel tape recorders, 7-inch reels, good sound. I have one of my best friends. His brother is a big fan of reel-to-reel. He's got an old high quality reel-to-reel restored device, and he swears only by those to listen to some of the music that he wants to listen to. Danny Shortwave, hook up the 980 to the end fed. I did that to mine. Pretty interesting. Okay, I'll do it. I never tried it. I tried it once and looked at actually, big story shorter. I hooked it up once, but I saw that it gave me a 1.5 to 1 SWR, and I thought, well, maybe that's too much. So I kind of started looking into the SWR stuff, and that's where I understood that you don't have that much loss at 1.5 to 1. It's fine. It's fine. Actually, the info I got was, don't go overly crazy unless you have 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. That's different. But if you've got 1.5 to 1, don't worry about it. It's fine. So it's still in the kitchen. It's easy to hook up. So I need to bring it here. I'm going to bring it here and hook it up and try something with that, because could be interesting, definitely, especially in single sideband. David in Barcelona, radio-wise, however, my resolution for 2024, finally become active on the ham radio satellites. I'm already able to receive QO100, and now I'm pulling together the equipment to uplink to it. Yeah, that's something I'd like to do too. I would love to do some ham radio satellite stuff and go through the International Space Station repeater. RJ Dakota, back in the 80s, the two stores were right across the street from each other. Radio Shack was in River Roads Shopping Center. Lafayette Radio Electronics was a store in the plaza across the street. That's cool. You got some, two places to go every time you go there. Tasso says the radio that got him into shortwave a little 2 years ago was a Sony CFS 220S that I have to repair the cassette player. Perhaps it needs a new belt. That is probably the number one problem of anything cassette, VHS players, stuff like that. It's really the belts going, and you need to replace them. George says, my first radio is a Sony Mini i5 system. My uncle didn't want it anymore, and I fixed it. My first shortwave station was Radio Romania International in English. Cool. Bob's Old Records. Can't drink anymore to get diabetes. Lucky. Other things are legal for me now. So my dad had it and gave it to me. Then I started playing with a shortwave. Now I got a Texan PL330 as well. So perhaps next I'll graduate to an SDR. It's a different world. And I'm going to tell you that most people that graduate to SDRs don't use a lot of their other radios anymore. RJ Dakota says, after all these stores went out of business, started ordering from something called EEB, the Electronic Equipment Bank. Yeah, I got to show Santa some love. That's Tasso said. Matt, it's funny. It's still showing 29 likes. That feature doesn't refresh for me. Yeah, I got 82 here. I got 82 right now here. KW61 bought his radio JRC 535D from them. Yeah, those were beautiful radios, the JRC, the Japan Radio Corporation radios. They were expensive though here. My choice, me going for the Kenwood R5000 was for the sexiness of it. It was easy to find. There was a store downtown Montreal that had them, and it was less expensive than other radios. Although you had to buy that filter, which I always found a little dumb, that you buy $1,000 radio and need to add a filter because the one they put is crappy. But hey, Fred Waters sees only 4 likes. I guess the like counter doesn't work for a lot of people. 87 right now. Hey, George, take care. Have some great time, a great holiday season, and have some great radio. Pirate Radio Boston being reported at the HF Underground, 6935 AM. Check it out. 6935, actually AM. I'm going to go, I got the H501 running here. So not getting anything here. Oh, yeah, slightly. Very weak. It is very weak, but it's there. 6935 kilohertz. You could see it here on the SDR also, but it's not very strong. Not very strong. 6935 in AM mode. Gord, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls. Just finished putting my ICOM R9000 back together, and the encoder part cleaned out, greased, and happy. It's like new now. VE3BEE. Cool. Nothing like a good running radio. Yeah, it's like a lot of people have been telling me this week that they don't hear when I post videos on the tech channel, they don't get the notifications. So YouTube has all sorts of little glitches here and there. Sometimes it could be browser related though, but VT Radio got one of the 12 days of Christmas earlier this week. David says, I haven't been doing much FT8 lately. Thanks to the better propagation, almost all of my QSOs are on SSB now. Cool. That's the way to go. Give up food and switch to 8K. Yes, absolutely, Matt. January the 6th is the next live show. So yes, absolutely. First Saturday of January, as usual. First Saturday of the month. So Saturday, January 6th, 2024 is the next, will be the next live show. Super Moomamary. Nice to have you here. And says getting set up on Yaesu Warriors X. RJ Dakota, Rayovac, and Energizer batteries are both made in local factories almost right down the way from where I live. Energizer actually operates Rayovac. I've had more problems with the Duracell brand. I had a lot of problems with Duracell leaks. Duracell seemed to leak like crazy every time I bought Duracell batteries. Leaks was the number one problem with those batteries. RJ Dakota, my older stepbrother, brought back the reel-to-reel tape recorder for back in the day. The sound was truly amazing. So, Chastang, take care. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Always nice to have you here. Danny Shortwave, thank you so much for the tip. Really is appreciated. Thank you so much. And happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you too. Super Murmurary says, I've been shortwave listening and ham for 50 plus years, but Santa teaches me new things every time I listen to him. There's, as I always say it, there's, you could have been a radio guy forever. There's always some part of something somewhere that you didn't grasp the concept or know about. And, we don't know everything. David says, by the way, another resolution for mine is to 2024 to continue learning CW. Yeah, I'd like that too. I like that too. VT Radio had reel-to-reel tape recorded in the house growing up. Not sure whatever happened to it. I now have one here from Ham Radio Estate Sale. It looks like new old stock. Cool. David says in Barcelona says, oh yes, the ISS, especially a QSO with NA1SS. Yeah, that'd be cool. Ricardo, nice to have you here. Yes, I'm UVB76. KinDXers purchased a 5-inch black and white TV from a thrift store in June 2008. Had old Duracell batteries inside, which leaked. Had the battery compartment cleaned afterwards. Yep. Jim's Radio Check. Nice to have you here. TV Radio 72. Nice to have you on board. Thinking of getting an SDR in 2024. Do they work on a Windows 11 computer? Yep, they work very well too. No problem. Penny C, thank you so much for the tip. Much appreciated. Dustin Fields, InfoWars is off now. Nobody wants that trash anymore. Oh, it could be browser related. Definitely, Danny. It's not impossible. Dustin Fields, let's have you here. What else do we have? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why is it the way that they use a shielding or the way that they use that copper thing? Because one of the things about the just gonna check if anybody logged in. Says hello on email. Here we go. Yeah, here. So I've always wondered why. What is the problem that has Duracell batteries leak so easily? I don't know if it's the canister that they use that's just too thin, but boy, they've been the worst for leak. $9.99 US. Thank you so much for the tip, my friend. Just got Kevin. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And says, give Mr. Paul and his girlfriend a pat on the head. Absolutely. WS2H. We'll do that. Definitely. John Meckham says, it was great to be back on your show today. Got to go, but have a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas to you too. What else do we have? My SDRs are all working on Windows 11. Both the HF AirSpy HF Plus and the SDR Play are running very well on the Windows 11 machines. Take care, BMC Bike. Always nice to have you on board. Remember, January 6th. And yeah, maybe we'll do a contact through FT8. That would be great. Patrick Manny, nice to have you on board. Merry Christmas. Bring back the computer shows. Nice to have you here. Been a long time. I've been having pretty good success with the Amazon branded batteries. I've been buying alkaline batteries in bulk on Amazon, and also their NIMH rechargeables are just great. It worked really, really well. David Barcelona, in my case, though not all Duracells I've used, leaked definitely a significant percentage of the alkalines that have leaked on me been Duracells. Yeah, there's a higher rate. I've had some radios here that I put Duracells and some with other branded alkaline batteries, Panasonics and so on, and had a couple that I totally forgot. I don't usually leave batteries in them except rechargeables. And when I went to pick them up, the ones that had leaked were pretty much all the time Duracells. The other ones were dead, but they had not leaked. Pop music on 11720 right now. That's Voice of America. They have that show where they play a lot of pop music at the time. Yeah, Matt. That made me move from when I buy batteries now. If I buy the brands, the usual brands that people buy, I almost always go for Energizer. This is sad. I don't know why. I mean, it's understandable why it happens, because the big problem with batteries is that as they're being used, there's gases that are created, and it does create a pressure inside that canister. But unfortunately, it seems like the Duracell ones are the ones that and that canister being used as a electrode in the battery. Of course, as the battery is used, the canister gets thinner. Maybe it's the design. I don't know. Oh yeah, I remember Mallory Battery Company. It's like the you guys remember the Ever Ready with the 9 lives and the cat back in the day? I don't see that anymore. I don't believe I've seen batteries with that logo and that anymore. But I remember the Ever Ready batteries with the 9 lives cat on it. Mallory, wow, yeah, I remember Mallory. Dang. Yeah, it does happen to me. It does happen to me. Yeah, red colored batteries. That's crazy. It was Rayovac. I remember in the 80s, I had my little ghetto blaster that I'd go through, and we would go up north, and there's no electricity there, so I needed batteries. And I would, get the batteries I could, because I didn't have a lot of money. So sometimes, buying the expensive Energizer or Duracell was out of the question. And I'd get with the really cheap, you know, carbon zinc batteries that really didn't have a lot of punch, didn't last that long. And I would listen to my music, and I remember listening to the tapes. And as the battery drained, you would hear the music kind of slower and slower and slower. I was like, oh God. And I mean, electronics also, when we look at the way electronics are built today, it's much more efficient. I mean, back in the day, you'd buy a ghetto blaster, it consumed a lot of power. And you would have these big D batteries inside them that made your ghetto blaster like, a brick. It was weighing like a ton, and it wasn't lasting that long. Actually, you wouldn't get out, especially when you were using, the radio was fine. On the radio side, you could actually manage to get a long time of play. But if you were using that cassette deck all the time, the batteries weren't actually lasting that long. And I look at the radios today, the radios we buy, and the radios back in the day, and you notice how everything is so much more efficient in its energy usage. The same type of radio today that existed in 1985, the batteries last way longer than they used to. It's as if, all the new electronics, the way that it's designed, doesn't need as much power to do the same job. Michael, they had silver, red, yellow, and blue ones. Silver were cheap. Yeah, no wind-up generators back then. Yeah. Oh, that's the difference. Yeah, yeah. Ever Ready has the cat through the number 9, and Rayovac had the lightning. Yeah, Keegan the Exter, when batteries would run down, the sound would distort either with the pitch going lower or distortion without pitch change. Yeah. What an animal. I have 2 floor model Ever Ready radios from the 1930s. They both work. It's amazing how innovative they were at the time. Blogger, I remember the A, B, and C batteries. The A was the tube filament, and the B was the high voltage 45. Yeah. Yeah, Energizer had the bunny and the commercials and stuff. It was crazy. I remember buying some very bizarre branded batteries. It's because they leaked. Because actually, one of the things I found cool back in the day is when you'd go somewhere where there was a lot of different manufacturers, and you'd see all of the casings with the different, stickers on them, the different colors and all. I thought that was kind of cool to see all the different brands with their own looks. Whoops, sorry. Santa just kicked the microphone. Sheila, nice to have you here from Belleville, Ontario. Nice to have you here. David says, I'm actually quite amazed that alkaline batteries are still made. Most battery-powered devices are already using lithiums of some sort, including the 18650 format. Yeah, I think they're there to stay for a while still, because they are still um, they're still the most popular, probably, for everything and everyday stuff. But yeah, it comes down to rechargeable versus disposable batteries. Wherever it came to do you guys remember what was the brand of that thing? I had a charger with that. They were alkaline rechargeables. And I remember buying some of those maybe 10 years ago or even more. And boy, these things would leak like crazy. I didn't use them for a long time. I thought the idea at first was great, but they were specially designed rechargeable alkaline batteries. But they didn't last long because they didn't have much of a life when you would recharge them. So you ended up with 50 or 75 recharge, and they basically were almost useless, not counting the fact that they would often leak. Boy, those things are crappy. the reason also, David, for the alkaline batteries to still exist is their shelf life. All the lithium ion batteries have a leak current that is quite high. And if you take one and you try to use it a year after, you'll see that it doesn't have a lot of power if you don't recharge it. Where alkaline batteries, you use them in 10 years and whatever they lost isn't that much. You're still going to have batteries in 10 years. I never seen those AA and B batteries, but I've seen radios of the past that were using them for the powering the tubes. So I know they existed, but I don't remember. I've never seen some of those. Longer die, every ready batteries add on the box bounces back for extra life, recovers between uses. Well, there was always a little kind of bump back up when you were using the batteries, most of them, and you leave them like for a couple of minutes. They would actually kind of get a little punch again. KW61, Santa kicking the microphone is okay. Please don't kick the bucket. VT radio, when I was young, my dad would not buy alkaline batteries because if a flashlight was left on all night, it would still go dead with the more expensive batteries. Yeah, yeah, indeed. Yeah, the bunny was Energizer, but I don't recall a mascot. They would make fun of the Energizer Buddy. I remember Duracell on some ads making fun of the Energizer Buddy, but I don't remember any mascot for Duracell. Huh, that's interesting. I'm sure these ads are all online. I need to go back and check these ads. I'm pretty sure we can check out all these Energizer and Duracell ads. Huh, interesting, Matt. We'll check it out. Merry Christmas, Tesso. Take care. Have a great week. But it's a fact. Like you were saying, if you put alkaline batteries and they run out, you leave the flashlight on. Yeah, they run out. They'll run out, and they cost a lot more money. So yeah, yeah. I mean, if you bought the cheap batteries, the problem was that it didn't last long, but the shelf life was good. Even the carbon zinc shelf life was okay. So if you needed the flashlight, if you didn't use them for a year, even the cheapest batteries would still be okay. It's just that if you needed the flashlight for a long time, that's where the problem was. Yeah, pretty much. KW1161, because they were leaking all the time. I don't know what they weren't designed for that. I think the idea was good, but I think they weren't. You know, and I mean today's batteries are kind of much better for the environment than they used to be. Keegan DX remembers using rechargeable AA batteries for the first camcorder and plug-and-play TV games as a kid in the late 2000s. VT Radio, remember the 6-volt lantern batteries? Yeah, I remember with the spring, the coil, kind of a spring coil on them. I remember my my dad knew I liked playing with batteries and light bulbs and all sorts of things. We went to a store once, and I had one of those 6 volts batteries. And we went to a store once, and I remember we were seeing. I saw some red colored bulbs that were blinking bulbs. They had the same. Actually they were using the same way of blinking as Christmas lights, the old incandescent Christmas lights. When you had that little light that had the top was red and the rest was white, you knew that these were the bulbs that would make the whole set blink or flash. And they were bigger bulbs, and they were 6 volts. I remember, and I don't know where we were, and there was a package, and they were not very expensive. I think it was like 4 bulbs for like 75 cents or something. So I remember my dad purchased 2 packs and says, "Hey, here's blinking bulbs, and there are 6 volts." So I was like, "Oh, I'm going to use my lantern battery." And of course, that technology is, a little rod that, as the light turns on, it eats up. Because it's eating up, it actually moves, because it's the heat is actually making the metal change, and then it would stop the contact. When it cools down, it puts the contact back, of course. And oh boy, I had a lot of fun with those. I would put these lights on my 6-volt battery and look at them blink all night. It was like so cool. I was very young back then. I was maybe only 7 or 8 years old. But I remember, boy, I found that cool to have these red blinking lights on the 6-volt battery. Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. There's so many people doing that. It's like, I put my batteries in the freezer. No, it doesn't change anything. And if you need them right now, I'm sorry, but at minus 15 degrees, they ain't gonna work very long. They ain't gonna work very well. Thank you, Mad Radio DXer, for the tip. Much appreciated. So it goes to Santa. Okay, I'll make sure that I get it. I'll have to tell him. Yeah, well, it's because of the ice. Basically, it makes the same sound as Robin Cook because of the ice in it. So that's why it sounds like that supernumerary. Michael says, back in the 60s, all batteries leaked. Sheila says, remember having Duracell rechargeables back in the day? They were horrible. RJ Dakota, remember the huge 6-volt batteries that were used for lanterns? Those had a lot of amps. They did. I remember one of my kicks was to take, I would take like wires that had multi-strands. I take just one little strand and put it on the terminals, and you'd see it light up and go off in a puff of smoke. Jim's Radio Check. I use the dollar store D batteries in my Super Radio 2. RJ Dakota, Harbor Freight used to have their own line of NiCads and NIMH batteries with their own power stations. Wow. David, remember the 4.5 volt dry batteries with the 2 flexible tabs on top, used mainly in flashlights? I don't remember that here. So Matt says apparently there was an earlier Duracell bunny mascot, but whatever legal protection it had lapsed. That's when Energizer introduced their more iconic bass drum playing and sunglass wearing version. Yeah, it's possible. I use Jim's Radio Check. There's here at the dollar store, they have Panasonic alkalines, which are very decent. Honestly, they're actually quite good. And they're less expensive than buying Energizers. Use the lantern batteries about okay, and battle lanterns, and on my old Navy ship, 150 of them, says KW1161. Yeah, I've seen. I think the older ones had the screw connections, but the more modern ones had the spring loads on them. Yeah, I remember I had a Krypton light flashlight. It used one of those 6-volt batteries, and what was kind of a little sad is that they were extremely bright, but in reality, you were kind of overdriving the light bulb. And so if you use your lantern a lot, the bulb would burn out in a few weeks. You'd have to buy a pack of bulbs because they were burning them all the time. The 12-volt lantern battery kind of rings a bell. I kind of recall maybe seeing this at some point. Well, you know what, Michael? And TV Radio 1972, thank you so much for the tip. So you know what, Michael? He says, I can't believe how many batteries we use and throw away in the garbage. And this is something that, as a severe battery user over the years, I remember one day thinking, wow, all of that went into the landfill can be good. Now today here, just at the store in the corner here, they have a box. So all the batteries that I use, I just go in the box, put it in a box. So what I do, I have a little bag next to the door, where at the entrance. And when batteries are dead, I put the batteries in the bag. And when there's, like right now, I think I should bring the bag. There's a lot of them in it. I take the bag and put it in the box at that place. It's a deposit box for batteries, dead batteries. And they recycle them and actually make new batteries out of them. So it's kind of cool because, it doesn't go into landfill. David says, by the way, all exhausted alkaline will bounce more if dropped on a surface like a table from a slight height, and compared to a new cell. Okay. I remember one of my friends showing me that batteries, if I weigh the battery, you'll notice that the battery, the more it weighs, the more you have energy in it. And it seems to actually work. It's probably true because there's probably more in it. And if you look at a carbon zinc and you look at an alkaline D battery and weigh them, you notice that the carbon zinc is so much lighter. But then again, it's not the same material. But even in alkalines, he showed me that if you had a little small scale, and he would show me that he put the batteries on the scale and he would tell me, look, don't all weigh the same, and they're still alkaline batteries. And he would tell me the ones that weigh more last longer. So maybe there's just more metal and more stuff in it. TV Radio 72. Duracell rechargeables are okay, but I prefer the Energizer. Actually, you know what? That brings me to rings a bell for something. I've noticed that a lot of rechargeable batteries, when you've got some bad batteries or batteries that don't charge well, the problem isn't the battery most of the time. It's a charger. I noticed there's a lot of crappy chargers out there that do not charge the batteries to their full extent like they should be. That's why I purchased an intelligent charger that actually monitors the voltage and makes sure that the battery is fully charged. The chargers that you buy at the store, I noticed that, or even the ones like the Duracell batteries, I bet you that the batteries are fine, but you maybe bought a pack that had batteries and charger. I have an Energizer charger here, and I have a Duracell charger here. The crappiest thing in the world. They don't charge the batteries correctly. They say it's smart charging. No, it's dumbass charging. The problem is, as the batteries, when rechargeable batteries get recharged all the time, they develop a different chemistry. The resistance inside is slightly higher. There's a change in the battery chemistry. And what I've noticed is that those smart chargers that you buy at a cheap price, once the battery has been charged 10 or 15 times, they just can't monitor the voltage correctly. And then you end up with batteries that are half charged rather than fully charged. So I got a smart charger on Amazon that is capable of monitoring all of that. It tells you the voltage, it tells you the resistance, and even tells you when a battery is really, really dead. And that charger always charges my batteries to the full, and I always get a good charge and a good use of these batteries. But a lot of chargers are crappy. Mad Radio DXer says that he used 12-volt batteries meant for mobile carts to power desktop receivers outdoors. So yeah, it works. Works. Definitely does work. Definitely does work. Let me check the battery. 4.5-volt battery. Did I ever see that? Oh, I might. Oh, yeah. I might have seen that somewhere at some point. That rings a bell. Now that I see them, yeah. I think I've seen them somewhere. I think I've seen them somewhere. Wait, I'll get out of that. Okay. Danny Shortwave, Unit Carbide was the company that made Everready, of course, also responsible for the Bhopal, India disaster. Yeah, that was horrible. That was the most horrible thing that could happen to people. Incredible. Brad Shaver, thought I'd wish everyone a Merry Christmas from North Illinois, having cranberry and vodka also. Cool. Cheers. Yeah, look around. I'm sure, not very far from where you are, Michael. There's a place that accepts the batteries for recycling. Dwayne, thanks for the Christmas show. Everyone have a wonderful Christmas. Hopefully, we'll be back on January 6th. Take care, my friend. Yeah. Well, there's no loss of, we all know that in physics, there's no loss, there's just a transformation. So even though the batteries have this certain chemistry in it, the energy used that, gives us either your radio works, gives you a display, gives you a, um, sound. Well, that is energy that's transformed into something else. So technically, that also means that your battery, the electrons in the battery that were used for that, and that transformed it in some other form of energy, be it sound or whatever, or light, um, means that inside your battery, there is a loss of electrons. Yeah, well, KW1161. Actually, it's something I wanted to do, and I think I forgot about it. It's a universal type charger that charges not just alkalines. So in there, I can charge alkaline batteries, not sorry, rechargeable batteries like NIMH. I could charge lithium ion batteries also. So I like it because if I have AA batteries, rechargeables that I want to charge, I just put them in. I got 18650 batteries, lithium ion to charge. I just put them in. So I don't charge in the radios. I charge with the charger. So it has, I don't remember how many formats of batteries that it can charge, but it charges NIMH, standard double A's, and it charges um, several types of lithium ion batteries also. Once you put the battery in it, it detects what it is, and it will tell you all the details, the voltage, the percentage of charge. It's really nice. And I can charge I think it's 8 batteries at the same time, and you can mix them up. I can charge like 3 AA's and 2 or 3, 18650, all mixed up. It works great. RGA Dakota, chemical reactions to change potential energy into kinetic energy. Yep. Thank you, Richard Califano, for the tip. Much appreciated. Yeah, there's some gas that could be leaking out also from the batteries. Some have vents in the batteries that actually let extra pressure get out, so that your batteries actually are fine. Just looking if anybody has written in for something. Nope, doesn't seem like it. So yeah, definitely, this makes a difference in the batteries. Boy, I'm just trying to figure out how many batteries I probably used in my whole life. Crazy. I had a Nico 4x4 back in the 80s. a crazy, beautiful 4x4. My brother back in the day worked at a hobby shop supplier, and in the warehouse they had tons of things, and he had them at a special price because he was working there. And one Christmas I got that 4x4, which was just amazing, and it used D batteries. And I remember the D batteries would not last very long. It was a very powerful truck. I mean, it could go up a hill. It was crazy. It had a sorry, it had two modes. So one was fast or powerful. So you would just switch on the top to choose which mode you want. But boy, the batteries didn't last long. I when I got the truck, I think he gave me a pack of 16 D batteries. I'm not even sure I made 2 or 3 days with 16 D batteries because it was just so crazy. And one day they were black, and I believe they were ever ready. I was at an uncle's place, and he had all sorts of, toys of all kinds. And I was telling him, I said, I got a problem with my 4x4. I like to play with it, but the 4x4 is, always, the 4x4 is always, I don't have batteries. I never have batteries. It just cost me too much. And I remember my uncle, he lived in Sherbrooke. I remember my uncle looked at me. I said, I got something for you because I'm not using it anymore. And he came out with 4D batteries, rechargeables. For C, it was a C batteries. 4C batteries rechargeable, and a charger. And there were nickel cadmium batteries. So I would put them in the charger for, I think it was 12 hours or something. And they lasted actually longer than alkaline did. And it was fun because now I could, put the batteries overnight, and I knew that the next day I could play with my 4x4 for maybe about an hour. So it was a lot of fun. And now I didn't have to spend tons of money on batteries. But there's that. I remember the remote control that I had, the big remote control that came with it, I think it used 8 AA batteries. I mean, back in the day, it's like I was saying earlier, back in the day, there were so many things that used up so much power. It was crazy. And we were using batteries like crazy. And back in the 80s, let's face it, rechargeables were not yet a hot item that people bought because the batteries were expensive. And even though they made you save a lot of money, we weren't there yet, not counting the fact that rechargeables had 1.2 volts. Alkaline had 1.5, almost 1.6 volts. There was a lot of things that we were using that you had to put alkalines because they just didn't have enough voltage with the rechargeables back then. So we were using batteries like crazy. I mean, imagine I'm not even going to say billions. There must be like trillions and trillions of batteries that have been in the landfill over the years. Thanks for the Merry Christmas, Richard from Albany, New York. 45 unit. Happy holidays. Nice to have you here. VT Radio. If I speak remote battery into my Xfinity remote, it displays battery life on the screen. This is too much technology for me. Tape enthusiast. Merry Christmas. Nice to have you here from India. Dean, KQ4ADJ. Nice to have you on board. Thank you for the tip. And thank you for the... Now, this is a Santa suit I purchased. Was it 2 years ago? The other one was horrible. It was really, really... This one at least has a a decent beard to it. I mean, I got the whole thing. I even got the belt. If you guys want to see, Santa's gonna get up. He's not, he's wearing pants. Don't worry. I get the belt. Get a big belt. Look at it. So he's got the. I'm starting to have a belly for it too. So Santa is starting to look like Santa. So thanks for being here, Dean. And thanks for the tip. Jim Gordon, thank you for the shows. Very Merry Christmas to you, family, cats, and other friends. Thank you so much from Scotland. Happy New Year. Once again, to all of those that wonder, our next live show will be January the 6th at 20 hours Universal Time. KW 61. Check it out. David in Barcelona says, I also had a radio controlled 4x4 as a kid. Mine used a NiCad pack and worked on 27. So from time to time, even with no input from the controller, it tended to jerk. Nearby CB operators, no doubt. That was a big problem back in that day. If you bought a friend of mine was wanted to have one, and I remember I had my 4x4, and my best friend, one of my best friends in high school, was asked his dad for Christmas for a 4x4 at Radio Shack. But the thing is, we ended up with 2 cars that were on 27 megahertz, and mine was fine because it was a high, and that was the trick back then. There were high quality stuff in there, and there was cheap stuff, cheap junk. And what happened is that my 4x4 was probably crystal controlled, because I could control it. And even if he turned on his remote, he was on a different 27 megahertz channel, because there was 5 channels for remote control, something like 26995, 27045, 27095, 27. There were, I think, 5 channels anyways, which were in between the CB channels, by the way. And I remember that mine was not affected by his, because it listened only on the channel I was on. But he could not control his when I turned on my remote control. So I ended up looking at it and saying, well, okay, well, that's kind of sad. We can't play together with our remote control trucks. And that's when he went back to Radio Shack, and the guy at Radio Shack says, oh, just exchange it for a 49 megahertz truck. Because that's why they had 27 and 49 megahertz. Often is to avoid being able to use 2 of them and avoid interference. So when he got to 49 megahertz, that fixed the problem. We could both play with our remote controlled 4x4s, and it was fine. So that was, but it showed me one thing back in the day. When you would pay a high price for a remote control toy, you'd end up getting a receiver in the remote control car that was precise, and it was probably, like I said, it was probably crystal controlled, where the cheap ones were using like a wideband 27 megahertz. So they were actually receiving everything from the CB channels. And in fact, when we were playing with a 4x4 control, mine could go further away before I'd lose control of it. And often he'd have some problems. And back in the day, I didn't know why. But now with the knowledge today, I know that if he lost control of it, there was probably some CB guy talking, and it would actually, override his remote control signal, which typically were like 100 milliwatts back then. And that was a problem for when you had too many remote control stuff, and if they weren't very high quality, you couldn't even play with more than one at a time. Today it's kind of interesting. I got some here. I'm just going to show you guys. Got a couple I got on eBay, not on eBay, on Amazon, that are very, very nice. And they're really, really fast. Just going to show you guys those right here. I got two of them. Look at this. These are really nice. These are about $100, 100, 120. They are a million times better than anything that was done in the 80s in terms of 4x4s. And these actually work with remote control, which I probably have here, like this. And these controls are 2.4 gigahertz. There it says on the side. This, you can play with 4 or 5 of them at a time. They never interfere with each other. This definitely is a million times better than anything I've ever had in remote control stuff. And it's just, at $100 today, it's like radios. They're so inexpensive for what you get today. And they are great. And this thing goes very fast. So I got 2 of them. I haven't used them this year, and I'm like, oh, I should use them. And I got some old remote control stuff here. I got a buggy, a big buggy. It's a 27 megahertz one. I got a remote control Ski-Doo. I have a remote control Ski-Doo that needs snow to work. Those are older styles, 27 or 49 megahertz. But I'm a sucker for those things. I like to play with those. It's like, we talk about sometimes. One of the things when we talk about radio, I always say when you go somewhere with radio, don't mind whoever's watching. But for some reason, I sometimes am a little shy as being a 50-year-old guy playing with, remote control cars and trucks. But at the same time, who cares? There's no age for that. It's if you like it and you have a lot of fun. And you know what turns me on about these devices? And that's always been the case. It's the fact that, they're wireless. You have a radio signal controlling a circuit in a truck or a 4x4 or whatever, So it's kind of fun. But I need to take those out again. They have they use lithium-ion batteries. One charge gives you 45 minutes, roughly 45 minutes of playtime. And I've got extra batteries. Those have a warning on them because the motor for the truck comes very hot. Actually, when you open the 4x4 to change the battery, there's a sticker that says "Do not touch," and they're not joking. It's crazy hot. So they tell you that if you have more than one battery, let the 4x4 cool down for at least 15 minutes. Or you're gonna burn the motor. KWM61, first rechargeable batteries purchased, 4AA, 4AA Radio Shack Nikeheads. Yeah. KWM61, Sony used DC to DC converter in their radios, which made the batteries last longer, or rechargeable ones. Okay. Midnight Harrow, black belt. Yep, I'm a black belt Santa. KWM61 knew a couple of hams who got their license just to use the 72 megahertz band with their model airplanes. You know what? I didn't know back then that it was a requirement, from what I understood now. But my uncle, the same uncle that gave me the C batteries, rechargeable, also sold my dad a replica of the Titanic that was remote controlled. And my dad used it once, never used it again. And it came with a 72 megahertz transmitter for the boat. But I kind of understood at some point that there was a license requirement for these. I don't know if it's still true today. Joseph, thank you so much for the tip. Much appreciated. Mike WX50, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Yep, 2.4 gigahertz. They're kind of cool. David says, yeah, I was sure my 4x4 was on the cheap side of things. Later on, I got an RC flying for some time, and Dad used 35 megahertz before switching to 2.4. Danny Shortwave says, we didn't have that stuff when we were kids. I loved playing with RC cars and planes. Also love drums. Madria the Xer, 46, still play video games. No age shame for that. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's Chuck Davis. Someone called the police on me when I was in downtown Milwaukee listening to my radio. Really? Wow. Why don't they mind their own business? It's just crazy. Just so crazy. You know, I've noticed one thing. I mean, here, there's never been a problem with that. But I noticed, and I don't know why, I don't know if it's because of the times and everything that happens around the world and things that even happen in our own country, but I have the impression when I have a radio that people are take the time to kind of analyze the situation of what exactly are you doing, which is something that wasn't really the case, 20 years ago. I don't know. Well, you know what, Mike, WX50? Actually, yesterday I was a Christmas party at 103.3 FM on the South Shore. And the one of the guys there, one of the DJs, looked at me and says, "Are you kidding me? You're 54. You don't look 54." And I always joke and say the same joke all the time. I always say that mentally, I do not have the age to drink alcohol. Take care, TV Radio 72. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, and January 6th. 9A4GE, Milan, at which frequency we can hear you? I'm not live on the radio. Paul Taylor, how did the ID on 72 megahertz when flying their models? Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, the FPV video systems. Yeah, all the video systems that were made for the ham bands. Yeah, absolutely. So Paul Taylor, Merry Christmas. Wholly unaware. It's comforting to know that Santa tries out those toys before giving them to kiddos just to make sure they're safe. Yeah, maybe that's what I should do. Always be dressed as Santa. So they'll be looking at me and saying, oh, Santa's trying the kid toys. Ricardo S., nice to have you here from Portugal. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Bob's Old Records. When I was a kid, I wanted radios and vinyl. I considered myself too mature for the stuff other children wanted. I was a mix. I was a mix of getting the toys and also of doing older stuff. Mandrier DX saw someone in my local park using an RC airplane, and they were either around my age or older. Joseph, it's also that radios aren't that normal anymore. Most people think Stranger Things, or if they haven't. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, Mike. Radios do keep us young. And Andrews, nice to have you here on their live drunken rants. Brad Shaver, Santa has a lot of likes this year. Radio Kid, sorry I'm late. Just got home. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Radio Kid. I'm amazed that in Stranger Things they were still able to get perfect reception on their transceivers in tunnels and underground areas. Hey, those things were powerful. Yeah, it's even it's even worse when you see that in Stranger Things when they're in their rooms. They don't even like the antenna is just like one section open. Of course, because of probably the problems that arise from having the full antenna up, they had to do it like that. But us geeks, us radio geeks, we see that and we're like, yeah, he's talking to his neighbor that's far away in the street with just one section open. Pirate reported 6875 upper sideband. So let's check that out. 6875. Oh, yeah. And that has to be Mixed Radio International Broadcasting because the signal is very wide. And there's even some, MRI. There's even some stuff being written in the display. I was going to show you guys here on the, here we go. Look at that. So you could see that on the screen, they have they have some letters going through. And look how wide the signal is compared to a standard USB signal. It's crazy when you look at it. So, so here's Santa back normal. There we go. And let me just put the frequency here. There we go. So yeah, pretty good signal too. MRI Mixed Radio International, very wide. And of course the display that has all the, look at that, I'm put it bigger here. You guys are gonna see it even better. So here, look at that. Radio 48. And they're playing some music. Really nice. It's kind of that's the cool thing of SDRs. HFU for HF Underground is the fact that they could put, write these letters and stuff. So I guess it's Radio 48 broadcast over Mixed Radio International. It's pretty cool when you look at that. Pretty cool. It is cool with the graphics, definitely. I got 120 likes here. So what else do we have? Larry Bragg and 7LWB, Merry Christmas. You also and your family. Matt says Crystal Ship was a good pirate, but I only heard them when they were doing pre-recorded music shows in recent times, not their classic 80s stuff. Yeah, just like the old CB movies. Wholly unaware, if you're enjoying the stream, please give Santa a thumbs up. Absolutely. And thanks for those that gave a tip. Remember, there's the tip button. You can actually give on the super chat. And once again, for those that prefer other means, there's the PayPal that you can also give a little something if you enjoy the show today and want Santa to be there all the time and enjoy radio, buy radios, and do more reviews. It's much appreciated. It does help out. So here's the PayPal email where you can send a donation. Chuck Davis says, I've never met anybody in this blog, but I feel as if I'm with family. There's a funny thing here about that. It's like when I do the live shows, even if it's just a chat, my impression that I have all the time is of me being in a room full of people. And when the show stops and the chat goes quiet, it's as if suddenly everybody is left and I'm alone. It's so weird. But I think we have a great community here. I think we have great people. I think I was able to, we had to clean up over the years. We had to remove some of the stuff that's unwanted. But what we're left with is great people that are respectful and that are here to have fun. And that's the important thing. Andrew the Extra, we will just use our imagination and say that propagation was awesome back in the 80s or use 100 kilowatt repeaters. Yeah, unfortunately, you don't see it in Colorado, Matt. But it's so cool with the... it's so cool. RJ Dakota hears that 6875 clearly. It is extremely cool with the graphics, definitely. KW1161, MFSK 3264 are able to do that on the AM band. Joseph, he's getting tiny bits of MRI in San Francisco. Cool. Larry Bragg listening to 6875, but I'm not able to receive this signal. Yeah, it's probably more of an East Coast thing. Definitely. Simon Templar, Merry Christmas. Hope everything's well with you. Bob's old record, 68.75, not getting through in New Mexico. Danny Shortwave says, this is the greatest community on YouTube. I'm always saying it. Also the smartest. Yep. Mike WX50 being a part of the show and chat with like-minded fans of shortwave radio is great fun. Matt's starting to get some of the signal, enough to see traces of it in the waterfall. Cool. And I mean, the first live show, what was it? 2013, 14? It's crazy. Time flies. I just can't believe. It's like, we're at close to 10 years of live shows. I used to do them on the as Patrick Manny earlier. I used to do them on the tech channel. But I mean, you get some great people there on the tech channel. The problem was that there was not a lot of people here. There's a lot more people watching the live shows. And you end up, it's sad because like here the community is great and everybody enjoys the live shows and all. And on the tech channel, there's a lot less people watching, but the people that were watching were like, big fans. It was like really, really big fans. But it's just that, I've said it so many times. There's just a certain number of hours in a day and in a week. And you have to put your efforts where it's the most important and worth it. And, I ended up with so many live shows that it's like, yeah, okay, and there's too many of them. And live shows are not like, a video. They are, especially when you do them long, you get tired of live shows. It's a physical thing, and you end up trying to find ways to, get more time for what's important. So that's why the tech channel doesn't have live shows. I found it at the end. It's sad because there's a small community of great people, but even though you're great people and everything, you can't justify the fact that you do a live show for 2 hours or 3 hours for 16 people. Here we reach sometimes and quite regularly we actually go above 200. So it's much more worth it here than it is in the tech channel. It's just not the same community. And I think, here there's a need for having a lot more of all of us together doing radio and talking radio. Jim's radio check. A couple of more years and your mustache will match your beard. Yeah, it's not far already. It's not far already. You know what? The contrast is high because this is very whitish blonde. But if I'd remove this is actually wider than it looks. Much wider than it looks. Yeah, I know, Patrick. That's the people that were there were the greatest fans in the world. But at some point you make choices. Because I know. I mean, with everybody, Grateful Pearls and there's like Hatawa Hinta and all of that. I wonder what if she's all right. She used to contribute so much. She was always like, oh man, I want to contribute and make sure that this continues. Tim Robinson out in the UK. I have amazing fond memories. Just like here, so many people here. It's like it's more than just people on the internet or a lot of people here are friends basically. Yeah, that's the thing is that the interaction here is different. Um, I think also the fact that it's much more of a solitary thing makes people want to be in a live show because you're not alone. You're not that weird guy somewhere. You're actually with the same kind of people that you are, a radio listener. Here you feel comfortable because we're all the same. We all do the same things, the radio stuff, and it's our hobby, and there's not a lot of occasions that we can meet up. So we meet up through this, and that's the cool part of it. And I think that's why it probably gets a lot more people into it. So Templar are doing great here. Our family is coming to us here on the mountain for this year for Christmas. Cool, cool. It's going to be quiet. My Christmas is quiet. I've over the years I used to be the guy that made the big parties, and all the family and friends were here. One, it costs a fortune. Two, it's a lot of work, and I ended up feeling that what, I don't want to have tens of people around now at Christmas. I want to have just a couple of people, the ones that are most important, and it's a lot less complicated too. And the stress that goes with it. So you know what, I it's going to be a quiet, and it's fine. It's fine. I got a little things here and there. I had a few things this week. I got a couple of things in the week that's coming ahead. You know, quiet stuff, not too complicated. Jetcrafter, Merry Christmas. Nice to have you on board, and always nice to have you here. And it's always cool. And yeah, Paul the cat. Call the cat. Yes, yes, yes. Seven Templar has been borrowing the ICOM IC705. I'm going to add it to my radio collection, I think. You like it? Cool. David says, I think that with how the current internet can sometimes be kind of chaotic and feel somewhat artificial, it's really nice to participate in these live streams alongside fellow radio fans. Yeah, and it's like a safe place. We kind of know that, apart from a random idiot from time to time, in general, things go well in general. And we got all the moderators that can, kick people out and usually work very well at doing it. So yeah, good signal off of that pirate on 6875. So it's kind of a safe place. We know with who we are with, and we know how things are going, and I think that's the cool stuff. Canadian Perry Shortwave, Merry Christmas, my friend. Cool, Simon. That's nice to know. I mean, there's so many good radios today. It's just crazy, It's just crazy. Bob Lewin, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Pretty cool to have you on board, my friend. And check it out here. Let's check if anybody has sent or said anything through email. I get from time to time when I do the live shows, people saying, well, I sent you this or that through email and you didn't answer. And I have to try to figure out and check it out a little more often, I would guess. So this is pretty cool. So once again, tomorrow, the International Radio Report Show is 1 hour long rather than 30 minutes. So listen in from 15 to 16 UTC on 90.3 FM CKUT, CKUT.ca for the streaming. Ask your smart device and you'll be able to stream it there. And once again, the YouTube channel that we have, which is a great channel. I could share it again here, I believe. This is the International Radio Report channel. why not join in and watch our show? The YouTube version adds, a visual of pictures that go with the stories that we talk about. So special 1 hour tomorrow, and this is, I think, going to be a pretty cool thing. And at 2 hours 55 minutes, I will slowly sign off, guys, because there's a lot of things I need to do tonight. I have to cook supper. I have to edit a 1 hour show. Usually it's 30 minutes. Do the YouTube version. So I'll be radioing along as usual. Hope you enjoyed the Santa show. Hope that you had a lot of fun. And LRA 36. Let's just check it out here. Yeah, here LRA 36 on 15476 a little bit, but not very strong here right now. So hope that you enjoy the show today. Radio Kid, what would be the minimum usable computer setup for SDR and the cheapest shortwave SDR module? I tried a cheapy module before with a real old computer, no success. It doesn't have to be very powerful, but you still need a computer that's fairly recent, though, if you want it to work well. You can check out the SDR, the RTL SDR V4, which is the latest model of the RTL SDR. Buy it from RTL SDR website, nowhere else, because there's too much crappy imitations. You're going to have something that doesn't receive shortwave. So the RTL SDR V4, very inexpensive. Actually, I would need to get one and test it out. Decent enough to do some shortwave and have fun. And then step up, probably in SDR play RSP1A, basically. So just going to say Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope that everybody enjoyed the show with Santa today. And yeah, there's no White Christmas here for this year, that's for sure. So that's going to be the thing here. Larry Braga's the Texan 501 was great. Cool. And yep, lots of Pirates coming up. Check it out with the holiday season. And thanks for those that have given a tip and have contributed to the show today. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great holiday season. And it's always nice to have you guys on board. And how about Santa ending the show with the Moscow Nights? How about that? Santa will put some earphones on, if you can, and we'll have Santa go out with Moscow Nights. There we go. If you guys feel like it. And here we go. Can't even see the keyboard with my big my big beard. Moscow Nights. And shortwave radio. Shortwave. The one with the choir things. And here we go, guys. Santa is ending the show with Moscow Nights. So take care. Happy holidays, everybody. It's nice to have you on board. Take care, my friends. So let's just put this a higher volume, though. I see that the volume here isn't high. The volume isn't high. It's supposed to be very high. Let's check out something here, guys. Okay, there we go. Low volume. High volume. It's still not very high, so pump it up a little. Sounds weird. You guys hear it? Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas.